Sign of meeting the deadline of 12 noon today set by a Gupta-owned company to reverse its violent threats or face action. In a letter to the EFF, ANN7 and the New Age newspaper editor-in-chief Moegsien Williams earlier wrote to the party demanding that it retracts its threats against the Gupta company's staff members, shareholders and properties. EFF leader Julius Malema said on Thursday that Gupta company employees would not be safe at his party's events. EFF Spokesperson Mbuyiseni Ndlozi has reiterated that their fight is not with the individual journalists but with the Guptas who will be targeted in the next few weeks.
We have received that open letter and a response has been prepared to them. I'm sure that we'll share it with the public. Okay. We maintain our position. He doesn't speak on behalf of journalists. He doesn't speak on behalf of workers. He's a boss. We know where to find workers and speak to them. We will talk to workers. We will explain as we are explaining here to the public. We don't have to explain to him. We don't have to speak to him in order to speak to the workers. He doesn't speak. He thinks he speaks on behalf of the workers. He doesn't.
Unemployment and poverty persist. White monopoly capital also decides what gets printed in media and what gets shown on television. Where this does not happen, they do it all it takes to seek to destroy those who, in the interest of our country, tells the good story on our media. In particular, AN7 and the New Age newspaper, due to the fact that this media house is pro the people, it is being subjected to serious insults in the media. The target is not the New Age or ANN7 or its owners, but the ANC and its president, Comrade President Jacob Zuma. White monopoly capital has found new friends and strange bedfellows, led by an expelled woodworker.
Meanwhile, political analyst Professor Stephen Friedman says South Africa is a democratic society. This comes as the EFF made a call that the ANN7 should not cover their events. Professor Friedman says that there are other ways that the EFF could have used to resolve this issue. He was speaking earlier on to the SABC.
The democratic principle is that public organizations and political parties of public organizations don't get to decide who covers them in a democratic society. Just as the ANC in January seemed to feel that it could decide which journalists covered its January the 8th statement, the EFF now seems to feel it can decide who covers its events. And I think we need to be concerned about that. If you don't like the Guptas or you don't like the organizations they run, there are things you can do as a democratic system to express that and to rally against it. But to say you can't cover the events, I think is a slippery slope, because next week it's going to be this one can't cover the events for some reason, and that one, and this week it's going to be the EFF, and next week it's going to be the ANC, and the week after it's going to be the DA. The people who lose out in this situation are the people of South Africa, because the people of South Africa are entitled to know what public organizations are doing.
We're very consistent about that message. ANN7 and the New Age, in our view, do not constitute part of free media. They are not media, they are money-making, corrupt communications departments of the Gupta family. We separate between them and those who work for them, in this case, journalists. They don't speak for journalists. Journalists have their own associations, they've got their own unions, they are like workers. So for as long as journalists who work for those institutions come in the name of TNA and ANN7, they're not welcome in all EFF events. And that is in no way a war against journalists in their own right as journalists. If they move to ENCA or they come to SABC, they're fine. We are protesting ANN7 and TNA because in our view, those institutions are like what the Citizen, for an example, was, or Nespas was under apartheid. We've taken a moral and an ethical and a political position against their activities. We're antagonizing them. We're calling on the Guptas to completely disengage from all of South Africa's different sectors.